to do on this channel, where I look at all my game controllers and make sounds with them. And for this one, I thought I would show you all my game controllers, every single one. I've got 15 unique ones. They're all around my space here. I thought I'd show you them all and just talk about them and of course make some sounds with them and all that. So I have 15 of them. I'm gonna leave timestamps in the description for each one, and they're not gonna be in order in which they came out. They're gonna be in the order in which I got them in, so I can I guess kind of tell you a story about them. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. So the first controller I have, if it's not too loud, that is the Nintendo 64 controller. Here it is. Kind of a funky looking design with the 3 handles. Here's what the back of the controller looks like. The hole here is for things like memory cards, and there was also a rumble pack that you could put in here. Before rumble was put in controllers, you just take a little accessory and you'd stick it in here. And there's a couple other things as well. So with this controller, or I guess the system rather, this was the first old system that I got, retro I guess. I've got newer things, alright. But this is probably the first, this is the first retro console that I got. Went to a local game store. And it was kind of just like an impulse buy. I was like, oh, and then 64. I'll just help myself to that. They had no games for it though. Except Pokemon Stadium. And you're also able to play your old Pokemon games through this thing. And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? I got a couple. This is probably one of my more favorite systems. I don't hate any system, but this is probably one of the ones that I gravitate towards more, with what I want to play. So that's the N64 controller. The next controller I have is also for the N64, but it's not made by Nintendo. It's third party. I like this controller a lot more. This is the one I primarily use. This is the I think it's called the Brawler 64. It looks like this. So you see, when the Nintendo 64 controller came out, a lot of people say that it was good for its time, but that it aged poorly. So this company, Retro Fighters, they made their own to be a more modern design. And this is a great controller. I think this is much better than the original. The build quality in this is actually surprisingly good, because it's not made by Nintendo, so it doesn't have the same standard of quality, I guess, but this is a fantastic controller. I got this one for Christmas one year. So that is the Brawler 64. So the next controller I have is a bit of a weird one, and probably one that most of you guys watching have not heard of. And so I guess I'll just show you and then I'll tell you what it is. The cord on this thing is really bulky, so sorry about that. Yeah, this is actually a controller. It's not like a phone or anything, you know. I don't know if you guys can hear that squeaking noise coming from this joystick. I've never heard that before. So this is there was a game company in the 70s and 80s called Atari. I don't know if you guys are familiar with them or not. And they made their first Atari was a huge hit in the United States. And then they came out with this one, their successor, called the 5200. They named them after like intervals of 2600 apparently. This is considered a commercial disaster. And this controller is also like kind of to blame, I would think. Because this controller has a huge flaw in that it just breaks remarkably easily. Like, wow, you would not believe how easily these controllers break. The buttons oxidize really fast. And then the joystick stops working. This one, I believe the joystick works, but none of the buttons work. I can clean them, but it's just such a hassle. But like, if I just like I clean this, and if I just like set it on a shelf for like a couple of weeks and come back to it, it's broken. Like, it does not work anymore. I got mine at the same game store I got my N64. I was checking their Facebook, and then they actually got one of these. Well, the system and everything. And two working controllers. That is two working controllers. For $125 and like a game. And that's actually a really good deal for something like this. And so I raced down there to pick it up. And I got every other game that they had for this. And it's actually kind of a fun system. I can't really say it's underrated just because this controller is just terrible. I hate this thing. But the games actually aren't that bad. If you like old arcade games, that is. I guess I'll explain this like keypad thing if you can see that. That looks like a phone. This was an idea in like the early 80s how like you know, there were no like options menus back then. So what like game developers would do, they would be like, alright, if you want like this type of game style, hit 1, or this one, hit 2, or if you want like more players, hit the ones down here. This is the idea. But this made the controller like really like hideously cluttered. To this controller's credit though, it was the first controller to have a pause button right there. So it is what it is. Alright, and the next controller I think is something much more recognizable. It is the original Nintendo controller. Nintendo. This this system that very much. There's nothing on it that's like, that's why I need a Nintendo, but I think the controller is fantastic. Okay, so this video is already getting kind of long, so I'm going to try to like speed through these controllers because I have a lot left. This next one is probably like the weirdest controller I have, and probably the one that most of you guys don't even know what it is. But I'll try to get through it pretty fast. This is the Colecovision controller. Coleco. This was made by Coleco, believe it or not. They made like Cabbage Patch Kids and things like that. I think that was a thing. But they also made a video game in the early 80s, and this was their controller. As you can see, they did the same like phone thing that the Atari did. So my experience with this is I just went to my game store and I saw one of these, the whole console for like $100, which I think now that's actually a good price, but I don't know about back then. And I think that was actually kind of a good purchase because it's still the only one that I've ever seen. So I don't know. Alright, so what's the next controller here? I think it's this one. Okay, so the next controller, it's another Atari, and it looks really weird. And it is this. This is the Atari 7800 controller. This was their third console, and it did not do very well. I wonder why with this terrible design. My experience with this controller, or with the console, I guess. I have the consoles for all of these controllers that I'm showing you, by the way. I went to my game store, and I saw that they had an Atari 7800 for sale. Came with 2 controllers, and like a game or something for $70. And I was like, oh, they have a 7800 because I've never seen one before. And I really, really wanted one, but I didn't have enough money on me. I had money in Sorry about that. I had money in my account, but they only accept cash, so, and I didn't have that much with me, so I couldn't get it. But it was like really eating me up over the past few days, or over the next few days. And like I would go to work and I'd like talk to my coworkers about it, be annoying like that. And then I went back and I eventually got it, which is a really good thing. These things are actually like really expensive now, so I think I got it like at a great time. That's not it for the 7800 though. In Europe, you see, like, I think when the 7800 came out in America, because it came out here first, the joystick was like still a popular thing, which is why they included it. But in Europe, it came out a bit later, and so like the Nintendo already came out, and so they're like, oh, we gotta change this. So then they made this. This is a much better controller than the other one. These things are ridiculously hard to come by. You have no idea. I'm really, like, I can't say I'm lucky to have it because I paid a crap ton of money for this thing, but it's a much better controller. If you can find one of these, buy it. If you care, that is. And it's got a little thumbstick that you can screw off, and then it becomes like a normal D-pad. There it is. So the next controller I have, moving things along, is my first Sega controller. It is System. This is it. I'll be honest, I really don't like this controller that very much. I absolutely hate this square of a D-pad. I think it's terrible. When I got this, I was at work and I was just checking my game store's website, and they had one of these for like $100, and I was like, I need to have that. I've never seen one before, which is why I buy a lot of my consoles. Problem was, I get off work kind of late, and they close like soon after, so I like raced down to the game store, and they still had it. So there it is, Master System. The next controller is a very iconic one. It is this. This is the original Atari joystick. I actually think this is a good controller. I think the joystick's fine, even though it's like super long. Like, look at that. I think it's alright though. It does get uncomfortable after like some time playing, but how long are you really gonna be playing one of these anyways? The way I got mine, I went to my game store and I was kind of like, I wasn't really complaining, but I was just kind of like talking with the owner. I wasn't like being mean, but I was like, I really wanted one of these for the longest time, and I've never seen one, otherwise I would totally buy it. And the owner was saying to me like, oh, we get these things in like all the time. And then he actually made a deal with me. He did not have to do this. And they don't usually do this, but he said that he would actually, the next one that came in, he would just like hold behind the counter for me. And so that's what he did. And the next time I went in there, he had one ready for me. So there we go, the Atari. And then also for the original Atari, I've got two controllers here. Because they're connected, I can't disconnect them. But it is the paddles. This was kind of like a solution to like alternate controllers, I guess, because you know theirs was so simple. They needed like different sort of controllers for different games. Because when the original Atari came out, it was like arcade cabinets that had just all sorts of different controls, and they had a hard time bringing some of them to a home console. So they had these paddles that you could spin, and in like a game like Centipede, you know, all you're moving is just a horizontal plane. So you would just use this to move, and then this to fire. I haven't really used this that much. I don't have many games for it. But the dial on this is really nice. It's really smooth. I do like that. Alright, and moving along, the next controller is going to reach over here. This is also probably one that should be more familiar. This is the Gamecube controller. A lot of people love this controller. I think it's pretty good, but it's not my favorite. The story I got this is kind of crazy. Well, not really crazy, it's just kind of long. But it was like a crazy thing to experience, I guess. I checking my game store's Facebook, and they had like a 30-minute live stream of a huge like collection that was sold to them. They had boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes of video games and consoles, and it was amazing. And I was like, I have to go down there. I have to get these things. I made like a list of like things I want. I was like, I'll get this, but if they don't have this, then I'll get this, and then this, and this, and all the way down. And I get there, and almost everything's gone already. They did have a Gamecube, which is what I ended up picking up. And I also got a Game Boy player for it. And I'm kind of thankful that I did that because they're actually like really expensive nowadays. I hardly even have any games for my Gamecube. I primarily use it just to play like Game Boy games on the TV, which, whatever. Alright, I don't have many controllers left. 4 left, I think. And this next one kind of has to do with the Gamecube story I just said. So one of the things that the game store got was a Virtual Boy. This is a Virtual Boy controller. Here it is. They got a Virtual Boy, and but they weren't gonna sell it yet because it was really, really dusty. So they needed to like clean it first. But like I was really like disappointed that everything I wanted was gone, and so the guy behind the counter, he did not have to do this. But he actually left my phone number and name on the Virtual Boy, like to reserve it for me. So when he was done, I could come pick it up. Virtual Boy. The next controller I have is the Xbox controller. Xbox. This is the original Xbox. This is not the Xbox 360. I don't really have much of a story with this one. I just went to my game store one day, and they had an original Xbox with 2 controllers and Halo, I think. Sorry about that. For like $40, and which that price was like super amazing to me. So I picked it up, and I'm kind of glad I did because original Xbox stuff is kind of expensive now. And I do like my Xbox, by the way. Alright, the next controller is Sega's last console. This is the Dreamcast. Dreamcast. Are you having any dreams right now? Have you fallen asleep? Dreamcast. The story behind this one is, I walked into my game store like the rest of these, and they had a Dreamcast with 2 controllers for $60. That's kind of typically the price that they sell their systems at. And again, that price is kind of like really like stood out to me. I was like, a Dreamcast, 2 controllers, $60. Gimme. excited to show this off. Now, I guess I have to preface, like, this is a really, like, divisive console. But its controller is pretty unpopular, I'll admit that. It's not a good controller. I'll just show you guys, I'm actually kind of excited. If you know what this is, you might have, like, two emotions of either, like, jealousy or confusion. Here it is. This is the Atari Jaguar. This was Atari's last console, and these things are really, really expensive. Really, 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 really expensive. And this actually also, I actually got this like a month ago. I really, really like it, by the way. It's like, I wouldn't say it's one of my favorites. I've got games for it, but I don't know, it's just like the wow factor of like, I have this. If you actually know what this is, you might be kind of impressed, I think. So the story with this, I walked into my game store one day, and they had an Atari Jaguar with the CD add-on, which is a huge deal. That thing is really rare, really, really, really rare, and they almost never work. And they wanted $650 for it, which is a lot of money. But for that price, you're actually getting like a pretty dang good deal, and this was a couple of years ago. But I didn't have enough cash with me, so I left. And the next time I saw a Jaguar was with that huge collection where I got my Gamecube and Virtual Boy. They had a Jaguar, and that was one of the things that I wanted. But of course, they didn't have any more. It sold. And I hadn't seen one of these in a while after that. The next time I saw it was about a month ago. I was looking at another game store, and I got one of these in with the CD add-on that actually works, and it was a prohibitively like ton of money, prohibitively expensive. I'm not gonna share how much it was. I'm too embarrassed. But I bought it still, and it works. It works great. Atari Jaguar. So those are all my console controllers. I've got other things like handhelds, but I'm not going to show those in this video. This video is already way too long. But yeah, if you enjoyed this, thank you, and of course thank you for watching. I hope you liked it. I hope you liked the sounds. I hope you liked the stories, and I think that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and